Welcome to Bake Night
with the Backstage Bakers.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Shannon.
And I am a mom that loves to bake and loves theater.
Sorry, I'm an artist who's been in the theatrical industry for over 20 years. Today, for Bake Night, we are making a Moscow Mule pie.
Ooh.
Yes, and this is like a mad scientist concoction I came up with. Which is basically, it looks complicated.
It does.
It looks
I'm
like
like, there's
ingredients.
a lot of stuff on the counter right now.
And I promised her it would be pretty simple. She'll be shocked at how easy this is.
And we have copper mugs. Do we get make drinks?
We can definitely make drinks. We have to make drinks. It's like a thing now.
So tell me about the Moscow Mule for those who don't know.
Okay, so the Moscow Mule is a drink that actually started in 1941.
Okay.
And the basic ingredients are vodka,
Okay.
ginger beer, and a squirt of lime. So that's the flavor profile of this pie.
And if you haven't had that drink, it's very good.
It's super refreshing. I mean, it's a very summery
And it's
drink.
very simple, right? It's 1 part vodka, 2 parts ginger beer,
And
squirt
a
of lime.
Yep, over ice, but you need to have the copper mug.
Copper.
The copper mug is important because it keeps the drink colder for longer. So since it's like more of a summery drink, it keeps your ice, just lasting a lot longer, and it's just so refreshing with the ginger beer.
And I mean, I did spend 10 years in Florida, and it's true, the copper mug does make a difference in hot weather.
Yeah, definitely. And we were looking this up. Why is it called the Moscow Mule?
Right?
I'm like,
I feel like naming something a mule,
it's a bad idea, right? But no, and we're like, maybe it's the name of the mug. No. What it is they said because it has that punch of ginger, it's like you got kicked by a mule. We're like, oh, this makes perfect sense. All right. So what we're going to start with, of course, when you start with any pie, is you start with the crust.
Okay.
And since our flavor profile is the ginger and the lime are the 2 main flavors in this, because vodka doesn't really have flavor.
Right.
We're of course going to put vodka in.
That's what makes it a boozy pie.
Or boozy pie at this point.
Right.
Yep.
So.
All right. So typically, we're going to start with like a graham cracker crust. So
Okay.
any traditional graham cracker crust recipe that you might have, you can use, but just substitute out Gingersnaps.
Oh, okay, so that's not graham crackers in that bag.
No, it is not. It is basically a bag of Gingersnaps that are this brand. They make it really, really thin.
Okay.
You don't want the gooey, soft Gingersnaps.
Okay.
You want the harder ones.
Well,
that
it's a
really
ginger.
have
It's a ginger snap.
Right.
Right.
So
okay.
if it's like doughy or any
You want more like
softness,
the cookie.
you want
like
crunch,
the crunchy
hard.
cookie. Okay.
Yep. So there's a couple different brands out there that are like that. And all I did was basically use a mallet. I put, this is about 2+ cups all crushed. That was about 1 bag. I just used the flat end, put it in a freezer bag so it's a little thicker of a bag. You don't want to bust through it.
Right.
And
okay.
and you don't want to turn it into powder. You want to keep a little
bit of crumble in there. Okay.
Yeah, because it's going to be a crust. It's going to hold quite a bit. So, there's no reason to like go crazy with it. And it doesn't take much, just like I showed. It doesn't take much. So you definitely don't need anything like a hammer. That's a little overkill,
Okay, and you're gonna pound through the counter, okay?
Right, you definitely do not want to use anything like this. This is a little overkill. But it's a Moscow thing.
That would be overkill?
I think it might be a little much.
Okay.
So let's put that aside. Just unnecessary prop.
Okay. So do we just take and put the ginger snaps in the pie?
I'm just gonna pour it right in there.
Okay.
And the nice thing about this is that if you have too much, it's no big deal. You're going to be pushing it up onto the edges, so you can always push excess off your edge.
Okay.
That's how I always look at it. So it's really simple. The butter was melted.
Houston, we have a problem.
We might have a problem. Shelby knew this for a hot second.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, we just get it in here real quick.
So we'll want to add the butter, right? And then,
Now, I did learn a trick from a friend of mine who is a professional pie baker.
Okay.
And she said,
Like pro tips.
I go, oh! Oh, that just blew up.
So, when microwaving butter, you should always put a wet paper towel over the top to save yourself the butter explosion that just happened.
And we're back. With no butter on us.
Although there was butter all over the ceiling of my microwave.
Yeah, it was impressive what just happened in that microwave.
I did not know that you could make that happen. I mean, it was like butter stalactites.
That was only like 2 tablespoons of butter, which is what you're gonna need.
So 2 tablespoons of melted butter.
We have our freshly
melted butter.
All right, I'm just gonna drizzle that in there.
Okay, now do you want me to mix it with this?
Yeah,
just mix it in. Okay.
Okay, and let me know if you need a little more butter. This is really kind of like a, once you kind of see if it's going to start sticking, the butter is really just to get the crumbs to stick together to make this crust.
Yeah, I'm going to need more
butter.
Yep, more butter. So.
All right, there we go. And so the tip I was getting to before from my friend who's a pie maker, she said anytime you're doing graham cracker crust or the ginger snap crust, it is really just, the graham crackers, the crackers, and the butter. And then usually you bake it. You can pre-bake the pie shell, right? Mm-hmm. She said you can skip that step altogether if during this step you add a little bit of powdered sugar.
Oh.
So it's going to add a little sweetness, but actually it starts to act as like a glue. Oh. So then you don't have to pre-bake it, which I was surprised because the next layer is basically like a key lime pie. So I thought, we'll just absorb into the ginger snaps if I don't pre-bake the shell. And she said, no, just do the powdered sugar.
So a little bit of powdered sugar.
Yep, acts like glue. So we're just going to sprinkle some in there.
And then, so you want me to mix this around in and then start pressing it to the sides? Okay. We've got our pie crust.
She did a wonderful job. We did have to add a little more butter.
If it seems too dry and crumbly, add a little bit more butter so that, because you want it to stick.
Right, and we are actually only going to fill this halfway because it's like a 2-layer pie. So we're going to just work on the first layer, which looks complicated again, but very simple ingredients. It's 1 can of, this is sweetened condensed milk, different than evaporated milk. So we will start with this, just 1 can. So we have this, and then we might as well use this spatula if you want to scoop that out of there. And then we're going to do about an equal amount of Greek yogurt. This one is the full 5% milk fat. Don't go for, lower fat. Don't go any flavors. Just do the real deal. But it does need to be Greek yogurt because that has a slightly tangier flavor.
Okay. And how much did you just put in there? A cup?
A heavy cup because this is a little over a cup.
Okay.
So it's about equal parts. So it's just those 2 ingredients.
And we're just going to whisk them together?
Start whisking.
Okay.
And then Key West lime juice. This is Nellie and Joe. So my pie making friend, Sonia, I gotta give her a little credit on this one. She basically said that this is the best tasting key lime juice. And it's not worth buying key limes and sitting there and like juicing all of them. And she's like, it's like a dozen you need.
We want to get to the fun part where the booze are.
Right, exactly. Where's the booze are, exactly.
Right, exactly. We do not want to spend all day squeezing limes.
No, we do not. So we're gonna put in just under a half cup probably. We want it to have a really nice strong limey flavor. And since we're doing this as the Moscow Mule, we're gonna add ginger paste. And this we're just gonna kind of throw in, it's not gonna be the full, we have the ginger and the ginger snap crust.
Okay.
We just want a little ginger in this because we want it to be more of the lime flavor in this part of it.
Okay.
So we're just gonna squeeze in, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon.
Okay.
I think that'd be about enough. I had tried in my test kitchen to do a couple of different ginger options. Mm-hmm. And anything that's like a grated ginger doesn't work because it's almost like it's like a little crunchy.
Well, ginger's pretty fibrous.
Yeah. So that's all this is. There's no electric mixer. It's just those ingredients, and we're gonna pour it right into the shell.
This is, I think, a 10-inch pie pan. It's 9 or 10 inch, and you can see that is. You want to hold that up there?
Yep. Well, I'm gonna push it out to the sides because it does stay in the shape that you pour it in, which I thought was interesting too.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, why doesn't this just flatten out? And I think it's because of the ingredients. It will keep whatever shape is on top, which is important to know because the next layer is going to be translucent. So you will see through the translucent layer what's going on here.
So if you don't do any crazy designs. Or do crazy designs for more fun.
Yeah, see what happens. So we're just going to swirl it in. Okay. There we go.
So, and you can see there's a lot of space left in the pie.
Yeah, you definitely want a nice, inch, or like ½ inch, 3/4 inch, because you want it to be a nice layer for the next layer.
So into the oven for 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's all it takes to set up.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back.
Did you just light that on fire?
No, I did not. I did microwave it in.
It's
very gingery.
We got some ginger
aromas.
It's like a ginger facial.
It is totally. What we moved on to now is our next layer. The pie came out of the oven and it looks beautiful. We took it outside just for a couple minutes to cool down. So
if you live in a hot climate, that's not going to work.
But
so you just wait a little bit longer. But it's
cool
still warm.
Right,
like I can hold the pan, but I was holding it on the sides, and the bottom is still warm. That's still warm.
Yeah, it's a little bit warmer because you want these two items to be about the same temperature because it's going to be a gelatin. The next layer is gelatin. So we took, what is the name of this one?
San Pellegrino.
Ginger beer.
Yep.
And we had done a taste test with Canada Dry ginger ale and the actual ginger beer. And the ginger beer definitely wins out to have the stronger, more true ginger flavor.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want. If you prefer something not so gingery, maybe a little sweeter, go for the Canada Dry or whatever brand of ginger ale.
But we're going for that kick of that Moscow Mule, and so we wanted that definite ginger kick. So we prefer to do a ginger beer with it.
Yes, because now what we're going to do is this you can find almost at any store. It's unflavored gelatin packets. There's 4 packets to a box. So we are going to basically put this into our hot ginger beer.
Okay.
So we just whisk away. We need to whisk for about 2 minutes.
Ooh, and look at it bubbling because there's still some carbonation
in there.
left in there too. But it is steamy and very ginger smelling.
Yes.
Somebody needs to invent smelling TV because this is
exactly like it was on Willy Wonka, wasn't it?
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision, yes. So I actually was happy to find that Svedka makes a ginger lime flavored vodka. At this point, we're going to put in, once we've got this dissolved and it cools down a little bit, it's a little too hot to add the alcohol because anytime you make alcohol hot, you're going to lose the alcohol. It basically just burns right off. So we're going to let this calm down a little bit once it's dissolved.
You're fine at this point. You're not going to cook off anything, but that's why most of our desserts, we're infusing the alcohol into a filling or a topping because if we bake it, no more alcohol.
Yeah, you really. I think it's time to add. So at this point, we are at just a cup still.
A cup of liquid.
Yep, a cup of liquid.
With our dissolved gelatin in there.
Totally dissolved. So we are going to add an actual full cup. We're talking boozy, people.
Boozy vibes. A little bit more.
A little more. Is that a little more? What?
A little bit more.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. Now we want to make sure. This is kind of a key, and my pie making friend, she said this is really key. This fluid needs to be about the same temperature as this. If one is colder or warmer than the other, there's an adhesion problem, which happened with me in my test kitchen. It looked beautiful. I had this beautiful Jell-O on top, and then I cut a slice, and then I pulled a slice out, and all of a sudden the Jell-O just was like, it just slid right off. And I was like, no, come back, Jell-O, come back, Jell-O.
The vodka was escaping.
Yeah, it was horrible. I mean, it looked like it was alive. It was alive. I was like, do I take toothpicks and slide that little sucker back on and poke it in? And then I brought some to my friend, whose name is Sonia, and she was like, oh yeah, that's a temperature issue. I think
we're pretty safe here.
All right.
And you know what? We'll find out.
We're gonna find out. That's why we're doing this. So go real slow.
Okay. Because you don't want to puncture
the custardy part. Exactly.
Right.
Now this is clear. I had done it before with a lime Jell-O, which was kind of pretty because it was green, but it also, the lime was too strong. It was like the lime was just taking over.
Okay.
So this being clear, once this sets, and this is going to take at least overnight to set. So if you're going to do this for a party or bringing it to something, make sure you've made this the day before, even 2 days before is fine because you want this Jell-O to really solidly set and adhere to the custard and adhere to the crust and not slip off.
And our crust did shrink down a little bit and brown on the top. Yeah. So it looks like we've got, it's getting in there as well. So hopefully
it'll be really
when we come back, it won't be sliding off. got setup pie.
So of course, since we're doing a Moscow Mule pie, Amy's gonna make us some Moscow Mules.
Absolutely.
And the true actual Moscow Mule cups.
I'm feeling my inner Sonia. I want to honor her cup contribution. So,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, no, it's not Sonia. Sonia's your friend, Sophia.
Sophia, yes, correct.
Cheers to the woman who created these cups and this drink.
We're on to the topping, which is basically a heavy whipping cream, which is just standard. We didn't add anything to it. We pre-whipped. So we have, all right, so we're going back to then the Svedka Ginger Lime Vodka. We're just going to kind of eyeball this sucker in because it's all by per taste.
You know, hold
Hold
on. Before you
Okay,
add.
hold on. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. It's a long-lasting friendship. Oh, that ginger beer is delicious.
That is
It's
really
way
good
better
drink.
than the
So,
ginger ale.
yeah. And
Good choice.
And it's so icy cold in these mugs.
It is. It's like kind of brutally cold.
Yeah.
It's like freezing.
If you have sensitive teeth, be careful with that.
That's cool. All right, so I'm going to eyeball in nothing more than probably with this amount, I wouldn't say anything more than a quarter cup. You don't want to add so much vodka that it, that's probably pretty good actually. We just want the flavor mainly. This one we did not add any powdered sugar. The vodka basically acts as the sugar element in this, so it will naturally sweeten it with just this. I did try it with powdered sugar and the vodka. Way too sweet for my palate. I think too sweet for anybody's palate, honestly.
I'd rather go less on the sugar and Now this, I just filled this a regular piping bag. I've got my little 1M tip, and we're just gonna put little whoops around the side because you can see our crust fell in a little bit, and we just want to pretty this up and also add a little bit more vodka.
And I think since it was the ginger snap cookies for the crust, putting Jell-O in, the Jell-O filled in all, because it's such a liquid, it filled in every crevice of it. So I'm hoping what happened was the Jell-O layer is actually adding to the solidity of the actual crust. So when it comes out, you know how sometimes graham cracker crusts kind of fall apart when you get the piece out? Mm-hmm. So I'm really hoping that this actually helped to make it more firm and that it will last longer.
And you've got options here. I just did some little whoops around the side. You could absolutely add some in the center. If you wanted to keep that translucent layer there. I just thought, okay, well, we'll just do a little bit of decor around, and hopefully we've got one for each piece.
The party you're bringing it to.
Or the symposium. I recently learned that the definition of symposium is a drinking party after a banquet. So we're just making symposium desserts. Don't we sound fancy now?
No, I think we...
Oh my goodness, look how pretty that is.
That turned out really well.
It did,
I'm
yeah.
really surprised that it turned out without falling apart on me.
And look, so because we kept them warm, we've got 2 layers. Good job.
Wow, this does look kind of cool, doesn't it?
It does. Very,
I do
very
like
fancy.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So
no,
taste time.
I'm gonna try the end, but I want some of the whipped topping too.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you could always add more because we have plenty.
Oh, true.
Yep. All right.
It's not too sweet. I really like that it's just a nice light flavor.
It's got a little bit of
Very
a key lime
creamy.
pie taste to it, but not so limey that you're like, wow.
Right.
I think the ginger was pretty balanced.
I agree.
I think it's the ginger snap crust really made a difference.
I could eat a lot of this. It's very dangerous. And I'm not. The vodka is very. It's not harsh at all.
You can't really even taste it.
No. Dangerous dessert.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's what
dangerous.
we do. We make dangerous dessert.
Symposium desserts. Now go out and use that word.
Now you know.
That's the mom in me teaching us new words.
So this is our Moscow Mule pie. Hope you guys really enjoyed it.
It is amazing.
Make sure that you hit that like button.
Subscribe to our channel.
Yep, click that bell. Ring that bell so you know when our next episode comes up. And thank you again for coming to watch an episode of Bake Night
With the Backstage Bakers.
All right.
And that's a wrap.